Facebook is starting to limit outreach and stuff like that, this topic becomes more and more relevant. Today, we're going to talk about how to build content calendars that ensure consistency and deliver easy to close DM conversations. This is that idea of when we go outbound with content, we're drawing people in towards our world. And the objective is to use what we call a marketing hook to get them to say, I want to learn more. So I'm going to click through the content, or I'm going to DM you whatever word. Or so the idea that I'm covering today is how to build a system where you can systematically put out that type of content that will always draw people towards you and start asking very pointed questions on how to start it with you. And this is week 2 of short month. We had Adam on our first week this week. So there's 3 weeks of our seamless customer journey creation map that we're going through. But here's the opportunity, guys. If you've ever had to create content, which I'm sure all of you have, you probably sometimes feel like this. Oh my God, it's intense. It's hard. It's difficult. What am I going to post today? I don't even know. Like, what's the topic? What's the trend? What's the stuff? Today, at the end of this session, we're going to move you from this to having a clean and simple and easy pathway that not only you can follow, but your clients will be consistently coming down this pathway towards your business each and every day on a consistent and automatic basis. So what's in it for you? Sticking through this presentation with me to the end. Number 1, we're going to show you some consistent branding ideas that'll be interesting. Also, how you can build efficient workflows, whether it be in FlowChat, whether it be in content, whatever. Also, higher conversion rates. That's what we all want. And then lastly, a shortened sales cycle, right? So if you're ready, let's go. Write yes in the chat. Let's do it. Here's how most people feel when it comes to content. They say, I don't want to build a content calendar because it's rigid and it restricts my creativity. Well, in reality, the thing about creating a content calendar, the first thing that it does for you is it gives you a framework that you can follow without having to think. It's very simple. It's very easy. This is the framework that I'm following. This is what's going to come out of it. Secondly, it gives you an action plan that you can execute on, again, without thought process. My goal today is to instill this idea of we want to use, an expert once told me that any human being gets 5 microbursts of brain energy every day. Use it or lose it, you get 5. And if we spend 1 microburst of energy on content creation when we could have had a plan, we've just burned one of our best thinking times of the day. So this plan would help you to save those microbursts of energy and put you into a place of zen and calmness, right? And so that's really the people say, oh, I don't want to build a content calendar because it's like crazy, it restricts everything. It's not the case, right? It's actually the opposite. Here's where most miss it. They say, oh, I'm building that content plan and a calendar. That's just too time consuming. Well, again, in reality, the initial setup may take some energy. Yes, that is true. However, once you get it set up, you'll spend less time wondering what to post, which is saving brain energy, and you'll spend more time interacting with your audience and actually closing deals. And that's what we all like, and that's what we all want, right? And so when I started creating content in my personal journey, one of the things that I always thought, right? And I'll take this back to even before I get onto the online game, I wanted to be a musician, and I made 2 albums, and I thought to myself, as I was going through this music creations, like, oh, I want to be a big music, a bunch of stuff. What I thought to myself was this, and many people have this, I want to build this one song that goes viral and it changes my whole life. Or I want to make this one piece of content that goes so popular that everybody clicks in and they come my way and boom, I got it. And I thought, man, I'm just going to go build one piece of content, or I'm just going to go write and record one song. And the problem with this one hit wonder thought process is it doesn't get you the result. A couple of things happen. Sometimes it might go viral. Sometimes you might get a lot of views and everything else, but then does that equate into traffic and eventually into conversion? No, right? The idea here is more consistency. So here's what I learned going through that, right? Because I did it with music. I then did it with publishing I actually used to write a lot of blogs. If you guys looked at our YouTube channel, we have over 1,000 YouTube videos almost now. But what I found was no consistency with a pattern or a framework equaled very sporadic conversations. Yes, I closed deals. Yes, I found some people that I could talk to, and sometimes those turned into deals. But the majority of the time, I was always stressing about, man, where's my next lead going to come from? Where's my next deal? I also found that creating post ideas on the spot is draining, right? You might be able to do it for a couple of days, a week, maybe 2 weeks, a month, but then there's going to come a time where it becomes very draining and it starts to steal your brain energy when it doesn't need to be that way. Next one, I found that no theme, not unifying, doesn't create momentum. What I mean by this is if you don't have a consistent recurring theme, people love consistency. They love to see things that are going to enhance and add value into their world. And if it's a theme-based item, they also used to teach me this thing called the JK5. And the JK5 was basically choose 5 topics that you truly love. And then each day of the week, you post about one of those topics and you do it about the same time every day. That creates the consistency, the unification. You could do it around your brand and some other things. So not doing these things doesn't create momentum. And one-hit wonders are unicorns, right? So we don't want to be a unicorn. We want to be somebody that's consistent, that's generating conversations on a daily basis that are predictable, that can actually grow our businesses using content. So here's what I did. I studied what worked for others, right? They say, find the people that are doing the things that are working for them. Look at ads that people are spending a lot of money on. Those are the ones that are usually working, especially if you see them over and over and over. And I actually originally learned this because I was trying to do newspaper marketing a long, long time ago, right? Where you put an ad out in the classifieds and then get people to like call a number and send money or whatever, like tried all those things. And what I found was there was about 3 or 4 of these ads in the newspaper that were week over week, for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was like, well, those ones clearly are working. And so that's what I started to copy, right? I learned how to create a content calendar. I listened to a girl named Rachel Peterson. She gave me this blueprint that was way bigger than anything I could ever do. And I started building through that one. And I really got an understanding of what it takes to unify everything. After building one of these for a different business, it saved thousands of hours just for that. This one in FlowChat, I'm going to show you some of the stuff that Chris and I have done. This also saved us thousands of hours. And then it also allowed me to be building a consistent following, right? When you're consistently posting every single day or whatever the cadence is that makes sense, people start to like and know and trust you, and that builds a following. And then, of course, that generates sales momentum. Here's an example of the month of July. So I'm going to walk you through the process of how we get here, but this is kind of the end result. You can see right here, I'm talking about how to create content calendars that map out messaging themes and ensure consistency across platforms. That is something I did not create. I actually leveraged AI to pull this title for me for this episode. And that's what I want to share with you today, because it's really simple to build something like this. And when you have the month of July, August, September, October, November, and you could just pop open a spreadsheet or something and look through and you say, oh, this is what I got to post about. I know it's relevant. I know it's trending. I know it's going to hit with the founders or the people that I sell to. It's right on point. And then I can spend that brain time actually building the material inside of that content that's going to truly value everybody that's listening to it. So it just kind of puts you on the right place in the right path at the right time, which is exciting. So this is how we go about doing it. There's 3 steps, really simple. First one is we just have to define it. Then we have to schedule, build, and publish it. And then we reuse and repurpose it across all the other platforms, right? We're always trying to collapse timelines and create efficiency, while reusing stuff that you built once becomes a very killer way to leverage all the other social media aspects that you have. So what's the first thing we do? We got to define the content, right? So how do we do it? The first way to do it is look at the calendar, break down the year. Every single year, this is a fact, as you guys know, there are 4 quarters. Each quarter is divided into 3 months. Each month has 4 to 5 weeks. And this means you can actually match your content plan to the timing of the year using AI, which is really simple. I'm going to share that with you in just a second. Next, we want to use AI to do this. So how do we actually do this? Well, here's some prompts that you can use. They're very simple ones. Now, you might want to take a screenshot of this when I'm done with this, but this is a starter. This is really easy. What are the 4 biggest problems founders struggle with in their business? As an example, we focus on founders, agency owners. We've tried coaches and consultants and all these other niches, but we find founders and agency owners is the title that works the best for us. Don't know what it is for you, but just enter that title in there. So what are the 4 biggest problems that founders struggle with in their business? And you just put that into AI, and AI will spit out, here's typically the 4 biggest problems that these people struggle with. Now you have a quarterly topic for the year. Remember, 4 quarters in a year. Each quarter has 3 months. So what do? We now say, what are the top 3 fears or anxieties that founders have with problem number 1? And then it'll spit it out. What are the top 3 fears or anxieties that founders have with problem number 2? And now what we're doing is we're creating those monthly topics. So the first 4 biggest problems are the quarter of the year. The next top 3 fears of each of those 4 quarters are going to be the monthly topics. And then we go one layer deeper and we say, what are the 5 search topics? Search topics is an interesting term there. What are the 5 search topics that founders search for regarding fear number 1, 2, 3, 4, etc.? And what this will do is it will pull out your weekly publishing schedule within the monthly setup, within the quarter of the year. And so you can use these 3 prompts and you can pull a big list from AI, which is going to be kind of the template boiler of how you can define the content that you want to use. And now you create that thing that looks like this. So again, if we're looking at this, Q3 topic, content topic was one of my big 4. July was one of the months within the Q3 topic, right? July, August, September. And then the weeks are the 4 to 5 things that people are searching for. So this is an actual topic that founders search for on a consistent daily basis. And so if I can use that in my content like I'm doing right now, guess what? It's valuable to you, it's valuable to us, and it creates the engagement and it drives people to ask more about what we're doing. Here's a pro tip. What topics will guide your prospects through your buying journey? So if we use this question and we go back to the prompting that I just shared a second ago, think through this before you start writing topics or prompts, saying, if I knew that my client goes from here to here, and then they buy, or prospect goes from here to buy to become a client, that's the type of material or the content that we want to start filming. This also has a lot to do with the awareness level of where your prospects are. Remember, if you've read Eugene Schwartz or you studied him a little bit, he came up with the awareness scale, right? Which starts from unaware and goes to most aware. And there's certain different types of leads systems that we can use to attract those people. This is helpful to think through as we're building content plan. So now you know how to define it. You've gotten the 3 prompts. You understand how to pull out that whole sheet, put it on a spreadsheet or wherever you're going to manage it. There's lots of software that does it too. But secondly, we can schedule, build, and publish, right? So how do we schedule, build, and publish? Well, we need to plan time to create and launch the content. So the first question I'm going to challenge you with today is, where is a 30-minute daily window that you can create? I didn't have one of these for a long time. What I did was I said, I'm going to put it in my morning routine because I understand how valuable content is to our business. And so I go to the gym from 7 to 7:45, come back, shower, and then from 8 to 8:30 or 8:45 every morning, I'm sitting there writing content based on the plan that I created. This is my 30-minute window. This is where I do it. My question is, where is your 30-minute window every day to do content? And you got to stay focused. You got to keep the blinders on, because posting consistently and regularly every single day is the thing that will grow your audience and bring you following. And it's the answer. It's not easy, or say it's very easy, but it's difficult to stay consistent, right? So the first question, where's the 30-minute daily window you can create to build the content? Secondly, what types of posts are you using? Remember, the same posts that you think are awesome, other people, your prospects, your clients might not think that's awesome. So we need to do some research and figure out, is it educational that works good for me? Is it promo? Is it entertaining or valuable content that works better for people in my niche? So go and do some research, figure out these influencers, what type of content are they posting? This is where you start to basically pull templates from people that have done very well in the people that you're selling to, and start to create your own content around the same formats that they use. That will help a lot. And then lastly is, how are you tracking your engagement progress? For me, what I do, because right now I'm focused on LinkedIn and I'm really working on one specific goal, is getting my LinkedIn personal brand to 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. And it's, in the meantime, it's going to, they say a rising tide lifts all boats. Well, my content is actually now, which I'm going to share in the second thing, is reuse, repurpose, is also helping our other platform, our other social profiles for the business to grow as well. So where are you tracking this? I take a screenshot of my followers count once a week, and I have all those screenshots stored in a specific bin so I can go back and I can look and chart progress, right? Now, sometimes there's controls that will tell you engagement levels or whatever, but I'm very archaic about it and it works well. So now you know how to define it, and then scheduling, building, and publishing it. You just got to have that 30-minute window. You got to be consistent with it. And then the last one is, how do we reuse or repurpose all this stuff? Very simple. You just got to build smart. What we want to think through is this idea of a waterfall. So if you think about the water going off the top of a waterfall and it comes down, it hits a rock, and that rock splits the streams, right? And then those two streams down have hit another rock, and they branch out into 4 streams. And then the same thing, 8 streams, 16 streams, 32, and so on and so forth. You get the point, right? So one big piece of macro content can be split into micro content. So a longer form blog post, I used to write a lot of blogs on LinkedIn and medium.com. And then I would take those things and I would create tweets, and those would get purposed onto Twitter, and then, or now X. And then I would take some of the tweets that hit the hardest on Twitter, and I'd make a LinkedIn article from that. And then I would take the LinkedIn article and I could just dump it into a Facebook post. So again, thinking of that waterfall idea, the blog is the thing coming off the top. It hits some different tweets that I creates those streams, and then the LinkedIn articles, and then the Facebook posts. And I've only created one major piece of content, and I can repurpose all of that stuff, right? Remember, consistency is key, but so is efficiency. So what we want to do is, yes, you have to build the system as a founder agency owner, but then our goal is to step out of that system and put a team member in so we can do the higher power brain thinking stuff for our business. So you need to do this first. Yes, you got to go do it, but then we develop a system with standard operating procedures that we can then hand off to someone that we really trust and love, like a virtual assistant from the Philippines, right? That's how you build smart. Here's how we do it every single morning. Like I said, I use Evernote. That's one of the softwares that I love. And I create articles. And I write these articles using AI, I get some ideas, and then I actually come in and I handwrite these things so they're in my own personal voice. Yes, I do this every morning. It takes me about 15, 20 minutes to write one of these things. And I'll choose a picture and I choose a really hooky headline, and then that becomes my long form post. I then give access to all of my long form posts over to our team, who then has a whole entire content duplication system where they'll take my one long form and they'll chop it up and they'll put it on this platform and that platform. But the work that I do as the founder is I spend, again, 20 to 30 minutes every single morning building one post at one time every single day. Right? That is the secret. That's how I do it. That's how we've been doing it for years. And that's what's allowed us to do millions and millions of dollars, because we don't have the strongest content presence. I'll be the first to admit that. We're not marketing based people. Chris and I are cut from the sales world. We are sales brained folks. We will always be sales brained first and students of marketing second. And so this is the way that we can now deploy some of the content, and it's enough. The other thing is, a lot of people looking at content, they're like, man, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be the best. It's got to be better than anywhere else. Well, that's a great aspiration and goal. But the fact of the matter is, there's always going to be somebody that's out there that's bigger, stronger, and better than you. All you need to do is be enough. Like Al Williams, the billionaire that sold Primerica, he used to say, it's all you can do, but all you can do is enough. And I think that's a really true statement that I can share with you guys, right? So it's kind of works. Now you know the idea, right? Define it, schedule, launch, and publish it, and then repurpose it either with yourself or using a team or a system is the secret. Your number one challenge in doing all of this, consistency, right? Again, it comes down to time blocking. I talk to a lot of millionaires. I talk to several billionaires. I have probably 6 or 7 billionaires that I know personally, and I speak with them all the time. And they always tell me, live and die by your calendar. If you don't time block and live by it, you're dead. And I was like, oh, well, that's coming from somebody that's making way more money than me. I should probably listen to that, right? So being consistent, using a calendar as a crutch to make sure you're always doing the right thing at the right time will allow you to be free. Because when you're staying focused during that time and you get done with that time, now you have the parameter of stopping and working and going and do the thing that you want to do in your life anyways. So being consistent is really the number one challenge you're going to struggle with when it comes to content, because everyone can do this. And again, as we look back through this lesson today, we're going to achieve consistent branding, efficient workflows, higher conversion rates, and a shortened sales cycle when we start applying really good content mapping and scheduling and posting. So with that said, guys, this is the session for today. Here is your mission of the week, if you choose to accept it. Number 1, please do this, because this will start the kickoff of everything else when it comes to your content. time block yourself to define your content plan. This is going to take 1 to 2 hours for the whole year of your time. That 1 to 2 hours is going to save you hundreds or if not thousands of hours later. And it's going to also protect your brain energy that you have to use. Secondly, use AI and map out your content plan, right? So you got to first define the plan, then map it out with the actual topics, and then just start executing and staying consistent. With that said, go FlowChat.